Imagine, it's late in the afternoon, past 5, dark already. The office is empty. Everyone but Corey and Ellie has gone home. Corey is loading paper into the Xerox machine when Ellie enters the room. She stands behind him, inappropriately close. He thinks he knows what is coming. He stiffens, preparing to politely reject her, not because he has standards for workplace propriety, but because he's already hooking up with Rachel in HR. Ellie, he begins, apologetically, as she grabs his forearm and lifts it to her mouth. Corey's lovely face contorts, first in shock, then pain. "Stop it, Ellie," he cries out, but no one hears him. The tendons of his arm roll and snap beneath Ellie's jaws. Finally, Corey gathers his wits enough to shove Ellie away. She stumbles backward, lands against the stacks of copy paper, and slides to the ground. Corey stares at her in horror, clutching his bleeding arm. He's waiting for her explanation, but she gives him none. Instead, she stands up calmly, straightens her skirt, and wipes the blood from her mouth before she leaves the room. What does Corey do? Of course, he could run straight to HR and say, "Ellie bit me," but after all, it was an office, not a preschool. Everything about the conversation would be ridiculous. "Ellie, did you bite Corey?" they would ask. And Ellie would raise her eyebrows and say, no? What a weird question." If the HR people tried to push and said, "Ellie, these are serious allegations," all Ellie would have to say was, "Yeah, seriously insane. Of course I did not bite the office manager, and I don't know why he's saying that I did." Really, the odds were high Corey wouldn't say anything at all. He would stay in the copy room for a while, contemplating the situation, and then the next day, he'd decide that the easiest thing to do would be to pretend it hadn't happened. He'd show up to work in a long-sleeve shirt to cover the ugly bruise on his arm, the little half moon where she'd marked him with her teeth. And then part of Corey Allen's brain would be reserved for keeping track of where exactly Ellie was. She'd catch him looking at her in meetings, and when they were at office parties together, he'd continually be moving, trying to keep as far as possible away from her. In a way, it'd be like they were always dancing, even if he never spoke to her again. Months later, when no one else was watching, she'd grin and snap her jaws at him, and he'd turn ghost pale and hurry from the room. He would remember her for the rest of his life. They'd be joined by the glistening strands of his fear. That's all.
So that's